Tuesday, August 3rd, 2010 meeting of the Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust. And the first item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes of our meeting of July 6th. The minutes have been distributed to all the trustees in advance. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes that have been produced?
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion made and seconded to approve the minutes. All those in favor, please cast your votes. And it carries. Thank you. The second item on the agenda is the ratification of the claims, and these also have been provided to you previously. And I might point out all the claims in this month's report are associated with TIF projects 2 or 8. Are there any questions or comments on the payments that we have to ratify? The chair would move that we ratify the report.
So move.
Please cast your votes. Whatever. It's August, anything goes on. Okay. Next item on the agenda is some items for individual consideration. And item A is amendment number 2 to the contract for architectural services in the Merion Botanical Gardens. South entry, cafe, band shell, and ancillary structures, a fee increase of $159,493. Are there any questions or comments? Laura Johnson is here who can answer. Laura Story, I'm sorry, Laura. Story, I know that. It's been a tough day. At any rate, I apologize, Laura, for that. Anyway, are there questions that we want Mrs. Story can help us with?
What led to the increase? I mean, what was the fundamental reason for needing to make all the additional?
Laura Story, Public Works. The project had been designed by a general overview of the OJB, Office of James Burnett, and then we did the architectural design with a local consultant, and during the trade-off from the preliminary design to the final design, there were some issues that we did not cover, and there were some issues that we needed further refinement on, and we just couldn't identify that at the beginning. So we started out, with the understanding that we could amend this if we needed to. And they had to do with access issues, renovating the McGee Center, and we didn't know until we really got into some of the research what would be involved.
Are there any other questions or comments? I have a motion made and approved. We will recommend this to the City Council for their approval, and it is approved. Thank you very much. Item B is a joint memorandum agreement between the Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust and the City of Oklahoma City and I2E, Inc. The staff, I think, maybe has an explanation of this one.
This is the agreement that we have been negotiating with I2E to implement the EDA grant that I2E received through in partnership with the trust. You're providing part of the matching funds for the grant. Tom Walker's here. If you have any specific questions or concerns, I'm sure he'd be glad to answer them.
Are there questions or concerns?
Just a quick one. First of all, I love the way that our dollars are leveraged with other partners, and so that's significant. But just kind of a general one as to when we would anticipate some outcome measurements and when we'd look forward to a report on how things are going, since it's somewhat unique and innovative.
Tom Walker with I2E. It's a good question. You want something for your money, I guess. We've actually already started working with companies, and so I can give you an example. One of the things that we're designing is how we can help some of these early stage companies that actually have a new product, so they're past the product development stage, build a sales pipeline and actually begin the sales process. And so we're in negotiations with a firm to work with 2 companies on a pilot study, and we expect to have that pilot project on these 2 companies complete in November. So we'll have some early results, and that's how we've structured this entire program, to try new, innovative things on these companies.
I'd just say if we could look forward to maybe twice a year having an update on status, that would be great. Written might be sufficient.
It'd be our privilege.
Or whenever we want to brag about a home run, that's good too.
The payments will be made on a quarterly basis. They'll be submitted to the trust, and the staff will review those and authorize payment. And I've got a commitment from the staff that they will, if they see something extraordinary, they will hold it up and let us have an explanation of it. And we could use that as a mechanism, perhaps, for the reports that you're looking for. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We have a copy of the agreement was in your packet. Are there any other additional questions on the memorandum of agreement?
No, but I'd like to move, please. Make a motion.
No motion? Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry.
That's all.
I second it.
You have a motion made second. Please cast your votes. And the agreement is approved. Thank you very much. Item C is an addendums, numbers 1, 2, and 3, and awards contracts to Allen Contracting for some Project 180 streetscape projects. Are there any questions or comments on this particular?
I'd just like to say this is our first package to be awarded for the streetscapes projects. It is Reno Avenue from Gaylord to Dewey and a block of Robinson. And if you have any specific questions, I'm sure Laura Story can answer those. But the bids came in within budget, and this will be kicked off about the end of August, so we'll begin seeing more road construction, street construction in downtown Oklahoma City this week. Oh, okay. It's going to start this week.
It will start this week, Laura. And how long will this particular project take to complete?
We have this scheduled for 241 working days. We had issued an early work order at 2 o'clock. We have our pre-work meeting, and we're going to begin mobilizing on the 6th, I guess that's Friday, and we will be closing the section between the Cox Center and the Ford Center to all traffic and allowing the contractor to begin work and move in and move out very quickly so the Thunder basketball game season can be as unimpaired as possible for this project. And then we anticipate being totally complete by April 8th.
Any comments or questions? Yeah, Ron.
Laura, pardon me if you do have it, I'm not unaware, but do you have a mobile application that would be able to be updated on a regular basis to show the driving public or just anyone what roads are closed and where to go from now on? I know the traffic for me today took a lot longer because of unfamiliarity. And just what's the essence of mobile applications?
There are some, but we need to get our plan together with the team first, okay? And we have had some bumps in the road, so to speak, with getting our traffic together, and we have developed the right people now, and at lunch we were making our work board for this. So once a week we're going to have a work board that is verified and validated, and we are going to make our decisions on traffic control and implement those for as long as possible so that the drivers can become used to them. You will see immediately some stuff happen when we close things for Reno, and that will stay that way. The lane movements and everything else, it may move geographically up or down or sideways on the roadway, but we will keep the pattern the same in that area until we finish the project, okay? And we will do the same with each of them if we possibly can. We have Andrea French, our public liaison, who is working to develop a more real-time application, and we're pooling our resources because we see the need for that.
Right now, we issue updates on the traffic situation every Friday, and we can put you all on that email list and make sure that you get those if you don't already. But we do send those out at least once a week, and then we have a website and some other things, but we don't have like an iPhone app yet. So we'll keep looking and trying to do that.
My comments are relative. I understand it's one thing when you work downtown every day, but when we are getting tourists in the city and other things, we need to be just cognizant of how to communicate with them because they're unfamiliar with the city and how to redirect them so that there's less anxieties and they want to come back.
Right.
To Rhonda's point, I think, too, that the method of communicating that like an app would really be neat, so that if it's a concierge desk at the Skirvin Hilton, that they immediately know how they can navigate. And like I said, the message is as important as the medium's as important as the message.
In an intermediate step, we are producing hard copy maps, and we need to verify that those are accurate before we issue them, of course, but that's what our next step is, to make sure people can receive email PDFs of that so they can see it and make that accessible.
Any other questions of Laura? Okay. Chair moves we approve the contract. Second. Please cast your votes. And it passes unanimously. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is General Manager's report. I'm sorry. D. I'm sorry. D. I missed D. How did I miss D? Well, we have item D. I'm sorry. This is a project ratifying and approving addendums 1, 2, and 3, a contract jointly with the City of Oklahoma City and two Lippert Brothers to deal with the renovations at the Myriad Gardens. Are there any questions? Laura is also an expert in this area.
This is the second package of architectural features that are in the garden, and it's the final contract that we'll be awarding in the Myriad Gardens, so that we now have a complete set of contractors. We know kind of what the cost of those renovations are going to be. So that's been a big, important step in this project. Lippert Brothers is the contractor that did the demolition work in the gardens. So they finished that up, and then we're able to immediately mobilize to begin working on the structures. So the good news is we don't have, we have 5 contractors over there, contracts over there, but only 4 contractors, soon to be 3. So that's the good news. It's a pretty small site to work in.
Are there any questions regarding this project?
Move approval.
Second. Motion made and approved. Please cast your votes, and the item carries. Thank you very much. Now, can we do General Manager reports?
We certainly may.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments on the General Manager's report that was sent out to you? It's interesting to look at the report on tax increment district number 8, which is the Devon TIF, and we've expended a considerable amount of money already on that project, authorized and expended it. And I think it really shows the value of the TIF process and the tremendous contribution Devon is making to downtown Oklahoma City. So it's fiscal year to date, I think, is $18 million. So it's a big number to consider. If not, we will receive the report. And we have a special report from the Chamber of Commerce today. Robin, you're going to handle that?
You bet. This is our annual report for fiscal year 2009-10, and I believe they have the amended. My apologies. Section A, page 9, you were given a replacement page. We have 2 budgets that are on a calendar year and 1 on a fiscal year, and we inadvertently, our eyes gravitated to the wrong numbers. So you now have the corrected numbers for that page. Basically, you have a packet that includes some of the marketing materials that were provided in the last quarter in retail, marketing for our strategic investment program, our local incentive, as well as our updated data sheet and then some other items that we've provided for you. Actually, it's been a good year for us given the flat economy. A lot of folks are talking about a jobless recovery. A lot of folks are talking about no recovery yet. And we feel pretty good about where we are year to date. We had, out of 676 projects, 14 were recruitments, and the balance were expansions and relocations. Some of those expansions were mainly capital investments and process improvements. In other cases, there were actually jobs included in that. We actually hosted many site selectors in Oklahoma City this year, and we also hosted some CEOs here, as well as going to visit some CEOs in other parts of the country. So that program is moving along nicely. On page 2 of the narrative in the front of your document, we referenced the SIP. We had 4 companies that we brought through and approved this year. I believe we actually had a couple others that we talked to and we looked at applications, but they really did not qualify, so we did not bring those forward. So 4 companies were approved with our local incentive this year, and that was through June 30. We also had a lot of media opportunities tied to the conferences and events that were held in 2009-10. It was a very busy year. That included the International Economic Development Council, If You Build It conference, the National Association of Seed and Venture Fund, which sounds so long ago, but it was September of last year, which was in this fiscal year. And again, we hosted some bioscience conferences. Obviously, the U.S. Conference of Mayors, in many ways, created an amazing amount of media opportunity and attention for us. And then finally, in sort of that look ahead, during this fiscal year, we were able to announce that the Small Business Innovation Research grant, or the SBIR National Conference, was going to be this November here in Oklahoma City, so we're thrilled about that. It's one that a lot of our research sector really wanted us to pursue, and we were successful in recruiting that. We also talk in this fiscal year about the update for our bioscience strategic plan. That will be completed at the end of September, and we'll be coming in and briefing you on how we've done over the last 5 years as well as where we're headed. We also are just getting ready to commence an economic impact of our aerospace industry. It's been 5 years, believe it or not, since we did that. And things have changed dramatically with the GM facility becoming part of Tinker Air Force Base, some growth at the FAA and in some of our private companies, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. So that is going to be updated. We fell short on a couple of our stretch goals. Again, these are stretch goals. We came in at a little over 4,300 jobs. Our goal was 6,000. We met locates and taxes. And again, the wages were a little soft for that last year. Part of that was we had some fairly small manufacturers in there that were expanding. But overall, I think we were either close or met most of those. For the 5-year totals, we think that jobs and new investment will be close. We won't make those over 5 years. We do believe we will make all of our other goals for the 5-year goals. And this is the first time we've had the tracking in place to really be able to look at a 5-year window, which I think is more realistic than an annual, because you have good years and bad years depending on how projects announce. And before I move on and talk about some of the new things going on, I've tried to give you a quick thumbnail of the document. Is there anything I can answer for you?
Any questions at this point? Robin, I've got just a sort of minor kind of questions. What was the Schmooza preview?
The Schmooza-Palooza?
We did a story, we coordinated or assisted dealing with the Schmooza preview.
The Schmooza-Palooza is a membership event that the Greater Oklahoma City Chamber has. I believe it's quarterly, and it's almost like a giant trade show with fun activities, things to do. It's a way for companies to showcase their goods and services and products, and we ended up having some media very interested in that particular event.
The title itself would have been...
And I have a hard time saying it. I apologize. Schmooza-Palooza.
And under tab A, on the first page, on the bottom segment there, you talk about visitors and unique visitors.
Yes.
And what is the difference between a visitor and a unique visitor?
A unique visitor is one that we do not believe has come into our site before. But there's ways to see through the URLs and different software technologies repeat people. Like if you come and see my site 10 times, I know that you're a repeat visitor, but if I don't recognize who you are coming in, we can figure out how many people are unique to that site.
It demonstrates my technical incompetence, but that's okay. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Robin, just a request, not a question, but like I was thinking about the mayor's conference and the like, if there's a sampler of clips that Cynthia might be able to compile just to share with us, I think it'd be fun. We kind of anticipate there's some positive coverage.
Absolutely. And would you like those electronically, or?
However is easiest for you all would be great. And
why don't we do those electronically, and then we can have Brent just send them out to folks, because we do, and specific to the U.S. Conference of Mayors?
Whatever you think is relevant to our initiatives here, I think that'd be great, but that one for sure.
Okay.
Thanks.
We will be happy to do this. It's a lot of paper, so I was thinking electronically. Yeah, that'd be great.
You subscribe to Vocus, don't you?
I'm sorry?
You subscribe to Vocus, right?
Yes.
So that should all be provided electronically.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Robin?
Okay. If you have no other questions on our annual report, again, thank you for supporting us in our efforts to do good work with regard to economic development in Oklahoma City. I would move on and talk a little bit about some of the news that we've seen in the last 24 hours that I'm sure many of us, we were thrilled about. I want to acknowledge Gary Pence. Gary is a retired Air Force colonel who's been with the Chamber for 16 years, and he knows the B-1 program very well since he used to run it for the Air Force. He was the point person on that recruitment, and then Michael Ogan, who's our Director of Business Development. Also, the Oklahoma Department of Commerce and our state incentives were absolutely key, as was our SIP program. So it was an incredible partnership as we worked through the project with Boeing. I think you've read the media, and rather than repeating everything, are there some specific questions I can answer about the project that was announced yesterday at 2 p.m. CST? Not that we were counting.
Congratulations. It was pretty good. Great announcement.
Well, and the city's a great partner.
It was encouraging. When we get to contemplate after you all negotiate as to what role the trust plays, it's just great that the voters had the vision 3 years ago to say, let's do this, and now the harvest is coming in.
Absolutely.
Any additional questions, comments?
And we'll keep you posted as we negotiate with the project. They have some things to work through internally, obviously. Some folks in Long Beach are working through some news that they would not necessarily know was coming, and figuring out who's going to relocate, where the local hires would be, and things like that. So we'll work through that. Also, wanted to let you know that we have another project that we hope to be bringing you next month to the trust meeting. I believe that's September 7th, 6th or 7th. And that's a warehouse and distribution project. It's one that we've been working on for a while, and we believe that they will be making an announcement, and we will be bringing, it's a small package, but it's an important package, and it's an opportunity to put a company into some facilities that have been idled for a long time, and we like to see the redevelopment of facilities. So hopefully we'll be bringing that project to you next month. We also are in the middle of tabulating all of our business retention and expansion results from all of our appointments over the last year. We are in the draft mode, but we will be bringing you our annual business retention and expansion report, what the companies are saying, hopefully by early September, and if not, I think you have one meeting in September, so it would be October, but we're going to try and get it to you at the early September meeting. Also, as I mentioned, we'll bring you the biostatistics and report when we're completed, and the impacts of aerospace will probably be done sometime in the spring. So I'll follow up on those clips. Is there any other question that I can respond to?
Robin, what has the economy done to the time period of initial awareness to actual fruition? What does that happen?
That's a great question, and something that we struggle with daily at a staff level. It's really not consistent. I would say fall of 2008, everything kind of stopped. A lot of projects were mothballed. They were put on hold. Some disappeared. Some have reappeared. We are seeing, I would say, the activity is better today than it was a year ago. It's not what it was 3 years ago. Projects, for example, the one that we're hoping to talk about next month, Gary, we've been working on that, is it for a year? 14 months, and they were telling us they would have an answer for us in a roughly 90 days, I think, when we first started. So, and it's not anybody's fault. There's just so many things that companies have to decide on these large projects. Even with Boeing, we've had a relationship with Boeing for decades. We're always working with them on opportunities, et cetera. So some of these projects have a really, really long shelf life. I would say they're moving faster than they were 2 years ago, but again, not as fast as they were 3 years ago. September of 2008, we really saw kind of a halt. We have about 12 projects, I would say, that we're either on a short list or we're getting site visits on. Most of those are recruitments, but some of them are expansions where we're looking at other business units that are not in Oklahoma. And they're kind of all over the board. Some are tied to Tinker Air Force Base and aviation and aerospace. Some are aviation and aerospace not tied to Tinker. We have energy, renewables, I think that's it, and some manufacturing. So it's actually a pretty good mix.
How about retail?
Retail. I shop. No, I'm kidding. Allison's not here today. I would say, let me have her do a written report for you on that. There are some statistics in the document I gave you on retail. I would say generally, and Kathy, jump in here since I know you're closer to this than I am, generally what we hear is from a national economy, Oklahoma is a lot more attractive. As our wage levels increase, we will become more attractive. As our population grows, we will become more attractive. And when you have folks like Aubrey willing to do what he did to make that project work for Whole Foods, we'll have some opportunities. Nationally, retail is still not where it was, and I think it's going to be a while before it gets there again. But I know that there are some folks looking at us. Allison is busy. She's getting inquiries. She's still following up on some of the appointments from ICSC folks that want to come into the market. And Kathy, do you want to comment?
I think one of the things that Allison focuses on is making sure that if there is a retailer who would like to locate in Oklahoma, that they come to Oklahoma City. And we focus on new-to-market retailers, sometimes like we focus on new-to-market companies on the primary job side, because we really think that that's our biggest bang for the buck as far as, new sales tax dollars. So I think that's Allison's primary focus, and what we are beginning to see is that a lot of the retailers are looking for places to go again. They're looking for the right spot to land. Is it in Oklahoma City? Is it Penn Square Mall? Is it Classic Curve? Is it something in that vicinity, or is it somewhere else in Oklahoma City? So right now we spend a lot of time finding the right fit for them. And the good news is having Whole Foods make their announcement kind of puts us on the map for a different level of retailers than maybe what we've seen before, both grocery and other things that kind of like to co-locate with something like Whole Foods. So if you get one, sometimes you'll get a few more, and that's what we're beginning to see. So I think it's pretty optimistic. I do think there's still a little bit of problem in the commercial real estate development side with getting financing. So you're really looking at space that's available right now and not new projects. So hopefully in a year or so that'll begin to change and we can get some new construction kinds of projects going too.
And I would
ones that need financing. Some don't need financing.
And I would piggyback Kathy through an analogy to the world that my team in economic development work in. They may be interested in us, but there are really, really nice malls around the country that are literally giving away retail space where they have vacancies. That's hard to compete with. We recently couldn't compete on a project that we really, really wanted. They are getting very nice, almost new space for 25 cents a square foot in the Dallas and Phoenix markets. And the good news is we don't have a bunch of great vacant space. The bad news is when you're competing and it's a company that wants to be in an existing space, hard to compete. So there are some other markets right now that are flooding the market with very inexpensive quality product across the board, not just retail.
Are there any comments, questions?
Since we're talking retail, is there any update on the closing of our outlet mall project?
They are under construction. They've got a slab. I mean, but we haven't, I don't think we've heard anything this week about their financing or anything.
Okay, thanks.
Good question, David.
They only have a few more days.
As the clock is running. August 31st, was that the? Yeah. Okay, that's my song. Okay. Let's see. Get my agenda back out and get somewhere. Are there any comments from the staff? Comments from the trustees? Any comments from anybody in the audience? Hearing none, we are adjourned.